Number 10. Penguins. Now this one might not sound that ridiculous at first, since penguins are generally seen as cute and romantic creatures. But trust me, their courtship rituals are absolutely bizarre. Male penguins spend weeks searching for the perfect pebble to present to their potential mate. And I mean, they are extremely picky about this rock. They will literally travel miles across the Antarctic ice just to find the right one. And if another penguin steals their pebble, they will fight to the death over it. But here's where it gets really weird. Once the male finds his perfect pebble, he waddles up to the female and just drops it at her feet like he's proposing with a ring. If she accepts the pebble, they're officially a couple, but if she rejects it, the male has to start the entire process over again. The whole thing is basically Tinder, but with rocks, and the rejection rate is probably about the same. Some male penguins get so desperate that they start stealing pebbles from other penguins' nests, which makes them basically the homewreckers of Antarctica. Number 9. Bowerbirds. Speaking of home decorating, bowerbirds take interior design to a whole new level when it comes to attracting a mate. The male bowerbird doesn't just build a nest, he constructs an elaborate bachelor pad, complete with color-coordinated decoration, and he spends months perfecting every detail. These birds are basically the HGTV stars of the animal kingdom, except instead of trying to impress television, they're trying to get laid. The male will collect hundreds of colorful objects like flowers, berries, shells, and even human trash like bottle caps and plastic toys to decorate his bower. But here's the crazy part. He arranges everything by color and size, creating these perfectly organized displays that would make Marie Kondo jealous. If even one item is out of place, he'll spend hours rearranging everything until it's perfect. Some bowerbirds even paint their bowers using chewed up berries and charcoal, making them literal artists. When a female comes to inspect his work, the male performs an elaborate dance routine while showing off each decoration individually. If she's not impressed, she just leaves, and the male has to start redecorating all over again. It's like spending months preparing for a first date only to get ghosted at the restaurant. Number 8. Praying mantis. Now we're getting into the territory where romance becomes a life or death situation, literally. Everyone knows that female praying mantises sometimes eat the male's head during mating. But what most people don't know is that the male actually continues mating even after being decapitated. Apparently, the male's body can function just fine without his head, which honestly explains a lot about male behavior in general. But here's what makes this even more ridiculous. The male mantis knows exactly what he's getting into. He approaches the female very slowly and carefully, basically tiptoeing around her like she's a loaded weapon, which she kind of is. The male will spend hours just standing there, trying to work up the courage to make his move, and you can almost see him thinking, is this really worth it? The female doesn't even try to hide her intention. She'll literally turn her head and stare at him with those giant eyes, and the male knows she's sizing him up like a menu item. Sometimes the male will bring the female a gift of food, hoping to distract her long enough to mate, escape with his head intact. It's basically a dinner date where you're both the customer and the meal. Number 7. Seahorses. Seahorses have completely flipped the script on traditional gender roles, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing. The male seahorse is the one who gets pregnant and gives birth, which means the female has to compete for the male's attention instead of the other way around. The female seahorse basically has to convince the male that she's worthy of carrying his babies, which is a complete reversal of how things work in most of the animal kingdom. The courtship ritual involves both seahorses changing colors and dancing together in perfect synchronization. They'll swim side by side, matching each other's movements exactly, and if one of them messes up the choreography, they have to start the whole dance over again. It's like they're competing on Dancing with the Stars, except the prize is pregnancy instead of a mirror ball trophy. But here's the really crazy part. Once they've completed their elaborate dance routine, the female transfers her eggs to the male's pouch, and then she just leaves. The male is stuck being pregnant for weeks, while the female goes off to find another dance partner. It's like the ultimate hit-and-run situation, except instead of leaving the scene of an accident, she's leaving the scene of conception. Number 6. Anglerfish. The anglerfish mating ritual is so ridiculous that it sounds like something out of a horror movie. The male anglerfish is absolutely tiny compared to the female. We're talking about a size difference where the male is basically a living sperm packet with fins. When the male finds a female, he doesn't just mate with her, he literally fuses with her body and becomes a permanent part of her. The male bites onto the female's body and releases enzymes that dissolve his mouth and her skin, causing their tissues to fuse together. His body then deteriorates until he's basically just a pair of testicles attached to the female's body, which is probably the most extreme case of commitment issues ever documented. The female can have multiple males attached to her at once, making her look like she's covered in bizarre parasites. From the male's perspective, this is either the ultimate romantic gesture or the most horrifying way to spend the rest of your life. Imagine going on a first date and deciding to literally become part of your partner's body forever. There's no breaking up, no divorce, no "it's not you, it's me," just permanent biological fusion till death do you part, which in this case is never. Number 5. Flatworms. Flatworms have turned mating into a literal sword fight, and the loser has to get pregnant. Both flatworms are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female reproductive organs, but neither one wants to be the one who gets pregnant because it takes too much energy. So they engage in what scientists call penis fencing, which is exactly what it sounds like. The two flatworms approach each other with their penises extended like tiny swords, and they proceed to stab at each other, trying to inject sperm while avoiding getting stabbed themselves. It's like the world's most awkward fencing, where winning means you get to be the dad, and losing means you're stuck being the mom. The first worm to successfully stab the other one wins, and the loser has to carry the eggs while the winner just swims away. This is probably the only species on Earth where getting screwed is a completely literal description of what happens during reproduction. The whole thing looks absolutely ridiculous, like two tiny sausages trying to have a sword fight, but the stakes are incredibly high because nobody wants to be the one stuck with parenting duties. Number 4, ducks. You might think ducks have pretty normal mating ritual, but you would be completely wrong. Male ducks have evolved some of the most bizarre reproductive anatomy in the animal kingdom, and their mating behavior is equally strange. The male duck's penis is shaped like a corkscrew and can extend to ridiculous lengths. Some species have penises that are longer than their entire body when fully extended. But here's where it gets really weird. The female duck's reproductive tract is also shaped like a corkscrew, but it spirals in the opposite direction. This means that mating is literally like trying to screw in a bolt the wrong way, which sounds like nature's way of making reproduction as difficult as possible. The male has to approach the female at exactly the right angle and timing, or the whole thing just doesn't work. The courtship behavior is just as bizarre as the anatomy. Male ducks will perform elaborate head-bobbing rituals, make weird honking sounds, and splash around in the water like they're having a seizure. They'll also chase the female around the pond relentlessly, which looks less like romantic pursuit and more like harassment. The female duck usually looks completely unimpressed by the entire display, which honestly makes sense given how ridiculous the whole thing is. Number 3, elephant seal. Elephant seals have turned mating into a gladiatorial combat sport where only the strongest and loudest male gets to reproduce. The male elephant seals, called bulls, can weigh up to 5,000 pounds and spend the entire mating season fighting each other for the right to mate with. These fights are absolutely brutal and can last for hours, with the bulls using their massive bodies to slam into each other like living wrecking balls. But here's what makes this whole thing completely ridiculous. The winning male has to mate with dozens of females in a very short time period, and he's so exhausted from fighting that he can barely function. The alpha male will literally collapse from exhaustion after mating, and sometimes he's so tired that he can't even move when the next challenger shows up. It's like winning a marathon and then being forced to immediately run another one. The females don't really have any say in the matter. They just have to accept whichever male happens to be the current champion. Meanwhile, all the smaller males who lost the fights just hang around the edges of the beach, hoping to sneak in a quick mating session when the alpha male isn't looking. It's basically a nature documentary version of a nightclub, with one guy monopolizing all the attention while everyone else tries to figure out how to get past the bouncer. Number 2, bedbugs. Bedbugs have developed what scientists call traumatic insemination, which is exactly as horrifying as it sounds. The male bedbug doesn't bother with any kind of courtship ritual. He just stabs the female anywhere on her body with his needle-like penis and injects sperm directly into her body cavity. The female doesn't have any choice in the matter, and she can't do anything to prevent it from happening. This process is so traumatic that it literally creates wounds on the female's body, and she can die from infection if it happens too many times. The male bedbug doesn't even aim for the female's reproductive organ. He just stabs her wherever he can reach and lets the sperm find its own way to where it needs to go. It's like the male bedbug looked at normal reproduction and said, "This is way too complicated. I'm just gonna stab her and hope for the best." The female bedbug has evolved a special organ called a spermolege that helps reduce the damage from being repeatedly stabbed by males, but it's basically just a thicker patch of skin that's slightly harder to penetrate. It's like nature's equivalent of wearing armor to protect yourself from your own species, which is both sad and ridiculous at the same time. Number 1, porcupine. And finally, we have porcupines, which have solved the obvious problem of how to mate when you're both covered in razor-sharp quills. The male porcupine's approach to courtship is so ridiculous that it sounds like a joke, but it's completely real. The male stands on his hind legs and urinates all over the female from a distance of up to 6 feet away. Yes, you read that correctly. The male porcupine's idea of romance is a golden shower. The female porcupine, if she's interested, will flatten her quills and allow the male to approach. The actual mating process requires incredible precision and timing because one wrong move means that both animals end up looking like pincushion. The male has to approach from exactly the right angle, and the female has to keep her quills completely flat, which means that porcupine reproduction is basically a life-or-death acrobatic performance. But here's the part that makes this the most ridiculous mating ritual on the list. The male porcupine doesn't just urinate on one female and call it a day. He'll spend hours walking around the forest, peeing on every female he can find, like he's marking his territory, except the territory is other porcupines. The females have to stand there and get urinated on by multiple males before deciding which one they want to mate with, which means female porcupines basically have to endure a urine-based speed dating session.